Welcome to Spiritism at Noon. We have been studying the book Empty Lives by the benefactor Joanna de Angelis, written by Divaldo Franco through his mediumship. We've been studying each chapter and trying to go into the concepts because each chapter brings a different topic. And this chapter, that is chapter 20, we started last week, and the title of the chapter is Continuous Effort. The first part that we started last week, we talked a lot about the advices that Joanna de Angelis gives to us in relation to our thoughts, our thought process, our need to be peace loving and become peacemakers, meaning that you can also only be a peacemaker if you have peace within yourself, which means trying as much as possible to master your own thoughts, that they will not be thoughts that will provoke any kind of especially unnecessary imbalances in yourself. So it's very much like, not just the controlling of emotions in the sense that we are going to make believe that they are not there, but really through analysis, through consideration, in terms to think about the need or not for us to be there, and what would be the advantages for us to not, in this sense, give way to unroot emotions. So it's very important for us to think, to meditate about it, to really consider. In this case here, it's very important also to mention that Joanna de Angelis is not talking about, oh, forget about your troubles, or troubles are not important, just focus on in your spirit life. We know that it's absolutely impossible. We live in a material world and we have problems, but what she's trying to emphasize is that sometimes we lose control. We lose control in the sense that, we should be asking ourselves, is it going to help if I just get into a state of despair, or if somehow I'll be more mindful of my emotions, I will still feel the pain, the difficulties that are going to be going through my life, but in a different state of mind. And this makes all the difference. So I'm going to be sharing with you the screen so that we can consider, we can start actually reading the rest of the chapter. And as always, I will read a little bit and then we will stop for questions. So basically, just for us to, again, to be well situated, we are talking about our thoughts and how much they actually have a way in our way of life, and how we are connecting with different kinds of energies. So now she goes to a part of this chapter where she will say, not only thoughts can be very detrimental to your mental health, when we give ourselves to, to unroot thoughts, to thoughts of despair, or any other kind of, thoughts that may be related to passions, they are not going to be working in our benefit, all of those things. But she's going to be explaining to us here how the thoughts can also impact our physical health. Because when we think, well, thought is in the realm of the thinking being, we can even put, the material organs like the brain here, all study all the thought process, we will understand. But when we say, no, this is going to impact everything, in your whole physical body, it's a different thing. So let's see here, what is she talking about? Due to the harmful habits that result from unhealthy thoughts, diseases of varying seriousness set in because of the vitalization of the mental miasmas that are absorbed by viruses and or other microorganisms, which acquire morbidity and spread epidemically. This is how pandemics arise, which periodically invade the earth and assist in the purification of its inhabitant. Well, this is not supposed to be a class in biology, much less in the biology of the spirit. And it's a too big subject for us, and I include myself in this. But what we can grasp from that is every time we are going to be studying thoughts, we know that thoughts are not deprived of matter. In fact, we are told that thoughts are matter, that they have color, they have shape, they have even a smell. That, of course, when we are in the physical realm, when we have corporeal body, we do not necessarily acknowledge the thoughts in a material sense that our material senses can grab, especially our vision, but it doesn't mean that we are not somehow being affected because of them. So many times we get into places that for a reason or another, we will feel good or bad. And it's not because of the place itself, the architectonic structure of the place, but the feeding energy that that place has. So this is what she's talking about. She's talking about our emotions, our still more primitive way of conducting ourselves, giving way to emotions of lust, jealousy, envy, and revenge, and all of that. They do not just live in the field of our mind. They travel, and they are fed constantly by us. And this provokes an atmosphere, or better yet, a psychosphere that is full of this kind of thoughts. I always remember, I think it's in the book In the Messengers, when André Luiz is traveling from Nosso Lar to planet Earth, and all of a sudden he is very astonished because he looks at Earth and says, well, it's not blue and white as we see in the photographs of the satellite, but he could see like it enveloped by a shadowy, dark color. And when he asked about it, the mentors explained to him that it was related to the level of actions and thinking that the human citizens were constantly feeding this psychosphere. Yeah, Marcel.
I have one question. I don't know. The mediums could see the miasmas, like some of them could see. The miasmas are material things or just an energy?
Mhm. You know, in the same way that we do not see air, right? We don't see air. On the other hand, we know that we cannot live without air. But air has uh, a composition, right? It is the a biological composition as well that is in the periodic table. I don't know which one it is, right? But the oxygen, right? Even if it's just the molecules of oxygen. And if we had eyes that could see that, we would see air, right? We would see the microwaves, we would see UV rays, we would see even the colors that we already see. Sometimes I always like to say, now that we have this comparison, between the first TV sets to today, that's 5K, 4K, 5K. I don't even know, the TVs that we have. So human beings in general are not capable of seeing that. But very few mediums, I think, may be able to see it. I remember one case of Chico Xavier that he described it. He was talking about the miasmas that was surrounding a certain person, a certain ambient. So I would say that it has to be a medium of his category, which are not many, that would be capable of seeing, the surroundings, and really perceive the negativity. Because you see, even if they are, because and this, like I said, we will call them living organisms, right? Even if we call them living organisms, they are organisms that emanate from our way of thinking. There is one case in a woman that is watching in one of the books. I think it's, I don't remember the name of the book, sorry. I can check later. That talks about a woman that is in the Spiritist Center watching a talk. And she went there also for the talk, for the passes, for treatment. And one spirit calls the attention to the other, saying, she had around her head, coming into her heart, like a brownish exhalation of energy. And he said this is because of her constant worries and pessimism. And today she's going to be receive treatment. And that's sometimes why, I say that the talks, the environment that we are in a spiritual center in the passes, they act very much like shower. You come home filled with those dirt from the streets, and then you take a shower, and that you rid yourself of any kind of contamination. And then they said, we are going to help her with that, but whether it's going to keep like this or not, it depends on her, on how she's going to be feeding this kind of energy. But no, I don't think many mediums can actually see those microcorpuscles, alone. Maybe we can feel something in a person, but in general, like we see the air, I don't think that's something.
Thank you.
And, okay. And now it's just saying that's how pandemics arise, and will envelop the the planet, right? So I think we have to think about that as well, and knowing that, as she says here, it does not necessarily come to harm, but to lead us to rethink things. But it's not that all of a sudden God in his wrath say, I'm going to send a pandemic. No, it's due to the unconsciousness of its inhabitants. I mean, if I live in a space, being your own neighbor, your neighborhood or yourself, where you are not worried about cleaning, and insects and rats and all of that are constantly there because you don't give attention to that. So I'm trying to materialize here what would be in the realm of the thinking, right? The spirit, and the realm of the physical realm, so that we can compare. Of course, we are going to be exposed to diseases, right? We are not worried about clean. It's all dirt around us in the neighborhoods, in the village, and the water, the way we do not treat the water, and so it is the same thing in terms of the this miasmas energies. But we cannot blame God because I'm not cleaning myself or cleaning my surroundings, and all of a sudden I got an infection due to my carelessness. But now this is in the realm of, like I said, the thinking. So degrading moral habits and social behaviors molded by self-centeredness, rebelliousness, and continuous challenges to the laws of order and balance work with the periodical woes that plague the planet. When perverse spiritual inherences, which are brought over from the past, come in contact with the morbid psychosphere of society, they find resonance and space for expression, resulting in a lamentable increase of all kinds of troubles. So let's say what she's talking about here is we bring a lot of baggage, and we have many exposed areas in our spirit, perispirit, which consequently is going to be also reflecting in our physical body. So it's not by chance that a person is going to have an ulcer because of habits that this person has, perhaps not only in this lifetime, but in previous lifetimes. So if I'm prone to that, because it doesn't normally start as a calamity, right? If I'm prone to that and I take the proper measure, trying not to aggravate it, although I may not even heal it, it can be better. But if I don't care and I continue doing whatever I'm doing that can aggravate the situation, it is going to find a sensitive area for that. So there we have, this thought processes, the thought forms around us, and we connect with them. I was thinking about the time of the plague, right? There was not the necessary hygiene, and of course that was the reason why it spread. It's not because God was punishing humankind. It is the law of cause and effect. Any questions or comments? I know this lesson is kind of hard. This part is kind of, that's why I wanted to split in two, because we wouldn't have time to, really savor the first part and get into that, even though it requires much more knowledge than we have. At least we will have a knowledge of a small knowledge, it may be, of how important it is, this peace, right? I'm thinking about Gandhi now. It be the peace that we want to see in the world. And it starts with that, because the peace here is the controlling of emotions. Okay. They start in individuals, increase in groups, install themselves in nations, and annihilate the aspirations of the good and the noble, the beautiful and the wholesome, while generating new behaviors that are shocking at first, but which then become accepted and publicized. Each day, exactly when materialism is triumphing in culture, education, and politics, there is a densification of psychic bacteria which devour bodies undermined by the violence of thoughtlessness and cause the calamities that human beings should have already defeated. So we will see here that even in terms of the contamination, right? It may start with individuals, then groups, and it goes to each and every one, as we saw with the COVID-19. Uh, it was not a particular address, right? The COVID was not choosing any particular address. It went everywhere, but again, as a result of our behavior, as a result of our carelessness, because a lot of people, maybe didn't take the proper measures of, staying home when they knew they were contaminated. They had the airplane travels, and they didn't change their plans because their symptoms were not showing. All of those things that we are impacting in the lives of others. So many of these destructive pleasures have a golden, charming, sometimes innocent look, until they take control of the masses, who go crazy and completely lose the ethical sense of living, of responsibility, and the longing for harmony, which seem old-fashioned by the new age of delusion. So we see here again, she's calling us to our responsibilities. Because of the habits we are implementing in our lives, and that can be damaging to many people, not just ourselves, and things that sometimes may seem to be very attracting, bring momentaneous pleasures, but that can be very, very serious in terms of the aggravation of the level of thoughts that we are emitting, and how we are connecting as well with the citizens that already are in this spiritual realm, and how this is going to come to us. Any questions or comments? Okay. So do not let yourself be fascinated by the modern songs of the mythological sirens, which attract in order to destroy and enchant to annihilate. Hearken to the voice of the heart, which speaks to you of love and respect for the values of life, the inalienable duties that physical existence imposes, and think about the fragility of your physical body. Observe those one-day victors who have let themselves be consumed by the fascination of drugs and unbridled sex, by outlandish behavior, and notice what they look like sometime later, consumed by pleasures, disfigured and ghostly. They hide their physical misery and degraded appearance in emotional and physical disorders that speed up their discarnation. So, uh, living an unruled life, and here we are not talking about not living life. We are talking about excesses. We are talking about bizarre things. We are talking about extravagance of any kind. We are talking about things that deep inside we know that is going to harm us in the mid or long term, and we are not giving or putting any effort to try to conquer that. It may be eating too much chocolate. Maybe you are not capable of giving up completely chocolate. But if you could restrain yourself saying, okay, I'm going to eat chocolate twice a week, just a tiny bit of chocolate. I'm not going to remove it completely, but I'm going to restrain myself. And and not because it's emotional eating or drinking or giving yourself to other things that can be very harmful to you. So we are not talking about that. We are talking about excesses. And that in time, we will see what a toll it is going to take on you. And an interesting thing is because she's talking here about the physical appearance, right? How it can affect people, but we have to understand that the physical appearance is also the result of how our cells, the cells in our body are feeling, right? I mean, all of a sudden, the wrinkles, the loss of vitality, excessive, I'm saying before, the necessary age and all that, like, losing the spark and all of this, it may be related, is real, not maybe, it is related to the physical deterioration, right? It's interesting because when we look at Divaldo Franco, for instance, the medium that psychographed this book, he's 96 and a half years old. Yeah, you look at him and say, wow, he's old. Yeah, but you will never say that he's 90, almost 100 years old, right? And why? Because he leads a balanced life. He's cautious with what he eats, and the time that he needs for his rest and all of that. And he gives his life to do good, and good is the fountain of youth. The more good you do, the younger you look like. Any questions or comments? So be restrained and considerate regarding the laws of life programmed by the Creator, and do not rebel. Restrained. I like this very much. Not everything that you would like to do, that you can or should do, is permissible. There are limits that set guidelines imposing restraint. Do not exceed them, using your youth, health, and momentary strength as justification. you see, it's like, the youngest, or sometimes they, they say, oh, I can be 3 days without sleeping. Yes, they can. They have still a lot of energy, right? Vital fluids, but it's going to take a toll. Not immediately, but it's going to show later, all of this lack of restraint. These resources are at your fingertips for more significant and noble purposes. Strive to keep your conduct with balanced standards, those that allow for harmony and well-being. Physical existence is very transitory and full of surprises that come from past experiences, which are responsible for establishing your modus vivendi and modus operandi. Do not cross oral boundaries, whatever the pretext, the justification. So, again, she's calling us to ponder about the treasure of life that we have. And understanding that if, yes, many of our behaviors come from previous incarnations, and it is still old habits die hard, right? Uh, Even the saints say die hard. It doesn't say old habits don't die. You cannot eliminate them, but it's require effort. So this is why she's calling our attention to all of this, because this is the only way that we will find inner peace and be protected even against those, bacteria, psychic bacteria, as he says, because also in order for them to find way through us in a way that it can be very harmful, they when they see people that are, taking more care of themselves in the sense that I'm saying from inside out, they will not find affinity in order to aggregate with us. And even if they come, we can be alert and change our mindset and change our ways of being as well. Of course, at this moment, we may think, oh, but are you saying that people that got COVID or even died from COVID-19 was because they were bad people? No, I mean, the things that were in store for them, what they have planned for their reincarnation and the way of dying is a different thing. Okay, but one thing we know, because we are inhabitants of planet Earth, a planet that is now going into a transition to regeneration, we know that we are still very much at the beginning of our evolution, although we don't think like this, considering everything that we have conquered already. But we are still going up the ladder slowly but surely, and we are still vulnerable. So that's why she's saying we are vulnerable. They will find, the sensitivities or the areas that people may be more exposed because of what we did in the past. So we are prone to that, but it's a collective effort for us not to be exposed to those kind of things anymore. Any questions or comments? Yes, Marcel.
I like this part that you talk about justification. I think not just related to the she's talking like health, youth, but we always are doing this, no, justifying our actions because I deserve. Like I work it a lot now. I think I deserve eating a big chocolate. So I think we need to think about it because we always is justifying something that we know that is not good for us. Uh, Even the cell phone. Okay, I'm tired. I will stay in my Instagram thing. It's not good for us. But okay, but I'm tired. Justificating. No, I deserve a little bit. So
Hmm.
I think we need to think about this. No, this justification that she's talking about. Just a
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's important for us, every desire, every whim that we have, we say, "Oh, but I deserve it because I did that, or I was a good girl, good boy." you know, the rewarding um, system that we have. And unfortunately, it's something that we parents do to our children, right? If you do that, I will reward you with that. So it stays with us. It may seem very innocent, but at the end of the day, if we are going to think about it, it's not a good teaching lesson, right? Or at the beginning is a golden star, right? That you get from the teacher, from the parents, but it's the message, the subliminal message is every time you think you did something good, you deserve to be rewarded. And sometimes, the thing is, uh, what are the things that we are rewarding ourselves with? Are there things that are going to be giving us what kind of satisfaction? And what is the price to pay for this kind of satisfaction, right? So yeah, I think we have to be more mindful. And again, it is a process. I always like to say every time we are going through the studies, don't beat yourself too hard, because otherwise we are going to be giving up right at the beginning. It's like playing the piano. You have to master all the keys, but you're not going to be able to do that at once. It will require studies and practice, long trainings before you are able to do it. And in this process of inner transformation, you know, especially when we are talking about mastering, taming our emotions, it's quite hard. So do not accommodate, but don't be too hard on yourself. Just keep on trying until fake it till you make it. Right? Okay, I'm not. I didn't. I was not that good today, but let's say, okay, I'll learn this time. Maybe we'll learn 10%. You should learn 100. Next time you will learn 10 more. It's already 20%. And it is that. And I think, again, it's always good for us to look at ourselves today and look at ourselves, and I'm not saying physically, okay? I'm talking about the growth, the personal growth, and focus more on that, not on what is lacking, but what we already have achieved. Okay, and those, Joanna de Angelis here, she has to teach us. She has to bring the lessons. She has to give us the recipe. And now she's giving this today. She's telling us what we should achieve, uh, what is in our way, and how this can be very harmful to us. And so she has to touch those difficult subjects for us to be able to learn. So Jesus knew everything that would happen to him there during his coexistence with the human beings on his journey. He had the power to change the final and tragic stage of his messiahship. Nevertheless, he chose to obey all the impositions of human cruelty in order to teach us by example to persevere in our duties until the final moment. We strive to do the same. So here is not about dying tragically, but it's about standing by your convictions, and not just before others, but before yourself, in terms of, it's an inner struggle. This is what I want to achieve. And for that, I have to start changing my habits that now I understand may not be good to myself. And I think this is the important lesson here, to have this clarity of what we are capable of doing, and persisting in our inner desire to do that. Because if we lose that, then if we don't think, or if you keep on saying, what is the point? I'm never going to do it. And oh, you will. You will. And the sooner the better. Any comment or question? Well, again, it's this week, the Saturday, that we are going to be having the 17th U.S. Spiritist Symposium. Yes, Philip?
There's one more page on this, one more statement, which I think is important to. It's, at least it's in the book.
Yeah.
It says, do not believe that your way of doing things is the best. Certainly, it is of great use for your personal fulfillment, but it is not a reference for other people's achievements.
Well, let me see here.
You don't have that.
Let me see. Okay, I got there. Oh, no, I don't. Let me put it here.
Well, my only point is that it goes along with the last statement you read. Very much. What's good for me may not look good for someone else.
Mm-hmm. Yes, let me take the book here. Yeah, almost.
Page 145.
Mm-hmm. Okay. You said do not believe that you're way. You know what? You have a good point here, Philip, because I never, I'm never sure if this last paragraph belongs to the previous lesson or is an introduction to the new one. So, yeah, but we are not putting in our copy here this. But we can go through that. Do not believe that your way of doing things is the best. Certainly, it is of great use for your personal fulfillment, but it's not a reference for other people's achievements. I mean, this is again the way of us thinking, right? We always have to be the right one. I mean, this is the right formula for me. This is what works for me, especially considering, we are like, kaleidoscope. How do I say it? A kaleidoscope?
Kaleidoscope.
Kaleidoscope. Kaleidoscope. Right? each one of us, you turn a little bit, you come in with a different combination. So we are like that. And with different combination, it's not one size fits all.
Yep.
Right. So, I mean, we have the basic structure with his God, creation, and the spirit, and the attainment of being perfected. But other than the ways that we are going to do that is the way that is going to resonate more with us. So here, that's why she's not saying, in order to do that, you have, there is not a recipe. 2 eggs, 1 cup of milk. No, because it's us, how much we will need, and how it even certain cultures already or beliefs already resonate more with us. So we will follow in this step. And this, I think, it's major, really, Philip, because it teaches us that if we really wanted to be peacemakers, one of the things that we have to remember always and put as priority is to respect others. To respect their own paces, to respect their heritage, and I think this is the best thing for us to act in every situation of life. I know a truth, and this truth fits me, and this truth is good for me. So I'm going to stick with it until I find a better one. But we are not saying that this is the, because we are so much at the beginning of our involvement that it cannot be the. All right.
Just one comment. This statement appears again in the page 150. So I think you are right. Maybe this statement, yes. I'm confused too if
Yeah.
it is a complement of the chapter or beginning of another chapter.
Yeah, I just thought it was like a highlight from the chapter. But the way that it's placed, it could be both, but I always saw it as being the highlight for the next chapter.
For the next. Okay.
Thank you, Marcel. All right, everyone. So for those who are not going to Portland, Oregon, please don't miss the symposium. It's going to be aired, okay, through YouTube, and you can watch it in our United States Spiritist Federation YouTube channel, or even Mansell do Caminho are going to be also showing in their TV. YouTube TV, yeah, so we count on your prayers and vibrations so that we can have a very good atmosphere, inviting for the good spirits to be with us and help, that through us we can be representatives of words that will reach the hearts and minds of people, and that can make a difference in their lives. Okay, so
thank you very